Council for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. Would everybody please stand and join with me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With the roll call, everyone is in attendance this evening. So we'll move on to review and approval of the agenda. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the council at this time? All right. Petitions and communications.
Yes, we have a letter from Hillary Sproul. I regret to tell you that Bill and I will be moving out of the area. We will be putting our house up for sale this month. I know this will mean that I will not be able to serve on the board of review once we have sold our home. So I'm telling you now so you can have an alternate ready to go. I have enjoyed being on the board of review and learned a lot about assessment. I would have gladly continued to serve if I were staying. Bill and I are sorry to leave Houghton after living here in this beautiful community for over 25 years, but we desire to be closer to our families in our retirement. Houghton is a beautiful city, and I feel the city management does a great job keeping it a lovely place to live. I would have liked to have moved the city with me, but that of course is not possible. With another letter from Craig Waddell. My April 19th message proposed accumulating a record of key features of Robert's Rules of Order over the next year or two and incorporating those features into the rules of procedure at a later time. In the council's meeting on April 28th, Joe proposed doing something like this. However, no one has yet supported my earlier April 14th message, which proposed making a few changes to the rules of procedure now. Please note that the city charter does not specifically state that the Tuesday night following the completion of the official canvass is the time when or the only time when the rules of procedure can be established or amended. Instead, the charter only says that the council may establish rules of procedure, shall meet at least once each month, and shall keep a journal of their meetings. None of the items in this list are specified as occurring only on the Tuesday night following the completion of the official canvass. My April 14th message suggested the following changes. 1. Removing from the consent agenda bid awards, contract approvals, and lease agreements. 2. Specifying that future agenda items may be requested by a councilor with the consent of at least one additional councilor. 3. Indicating that the presiding officer may call to order any member who is speaking out of order. 4. The public will have the opportunity to address the council twice at every meeting, giving the opportunity for the public to address the council item on the agenda near the beginning and again near the end of the meeting. 5. Adding a section specifying how correspondence will be handled. 6. Identifying that committee appointments will be made by the mayor with the consent of a majority vote of the council. And 7. Adding a section specifying how the rules of procedure will be amended. As far as I know, the only way for an ordinary citizen to get the city council to consider procedural changes is by proposing them to the council and then, during the future agenda items section of the agenda, for a councilor to propose adding a discussion of such changes to the agenda for the next meeting so that they can be considered at that time. I think these changes would make for a more effective city council. And it's from Craig Waddell.
Okay.
And that's all.
And that was it?
That's it.
All right, moving along to public hearings. We do not have any. So we'll go to reports. City manager.
Okay, so for Public Works over the last few weeks, they've been continuing with street sweeping. They're in central Houghton, working their way east. They're still got about 3 or 4 weeks left, and then once the east end is done, they're gonna circle back around and pick up the stragglers, so to speak. They're about halfway done with the water main replacement on East Houghton Avenue. Again, that's ahead of our small urban project to pave that street, so they're about halfway through that. They're also installing a new traffic camera at the Razorback M26 intersection. I think Chief Donnelly will bring something up about the light there. The spring cleanup at the parks is certainly progressing nicely, and Public Works has gone through all of the equipment, all of the assets out there to make sure that everything is in order, and swings are safe and boards are nailed down, etc. If anybody does find anything or anything does occur over the year, please let us know so we can get someone out there. We have 2 more senior citizens yard debris pickup dates are May 17th and May 28th. So just urging people to call the office to, you know, to get on the list, and we can get someone out to pick those things up, or pick up the yard debris. And one thing that came up in the last week or so, there's been some homemade features brought down to the skate park, you know, that the skaters like to use. And, you know, they get left there, other people use them, they may use them improperly, and we had a conversation with a parent of one of the kids that was bringing this, you know, participating in bringing the stuff down, and looking at the way other skate parks are managed. We're trying to discourage that, because the skate park was built with the features. They were engineered by the skate park designer, you know, to work that way. We'd really like to discourage people from bringing extra stuff down there. Certainly we can look at adding features to it as time goes on, but bringing some homemade extras in down there isn't necessarily safe, and we'd like to avoid that. Just from the general list, the narrow boardwalks are 100% done. They finished those last week. The Pilgrim River Bridge is scheduled to start in June. Again, that's a DNR bridge, so that was a DNR project, so that's scheduled to start in June. And it's gonna be done along with a lot of the other washouts along the trail between the Pilgrim and Chassel. So they're gonna be using the parking lot along 41 as a staging area. So there might be stuff there, but there's gonna be nothing going on at the bridge at certain times. We just want people to know that. I'm just glad that the DNR finally is getting around to getting that bridge fixed. We've added some dock slips this year, and they're getting filled. We added got rid of a couple of transients that didn't get used and turned them into rental slips. Also looking at some broadside slips, and Cleo's been getting those things out to the folks on the waiting list, because we do have a long waiting list for people to dock, keep their boats permanently on the water in Houghton. Looking forward to Black Ice Comics moving up to 503 Sheldon. That's the old lunch bag building. They kind of made that public last week, so we're looking forward to that. The paving project that we had talked about a couple meetings back should be ready to go out to bids here pretty soon for later in the year. Just have to get some permits from MDOT, a couple things like that, because some of our paving touches MDOT right of way, so we had to get some permits, but those came relatively fast. We continue to work with Houghton Rotary on the dog park. They're working on fundraising, and as things progress with them, we'll keep working with them, and when the time comes to start either moving dirt or installing fences, we'll keep working forward on that. By the time we get to the next meeting, the traffic control will probably be in place on Sharon Avenue for the Huron Creek Culvert project. So I'm just warning everybody that that project's going to start there, replacing the temporary culvert we put in after the flood with a permanent culvert, which should be good for the next half a century, if we're willing. So just letting everybody know that by the time we get to the next meeting, or right up before Memorial Day, you know, that traffic control will probably be in place. There's a Speakeasy opening in town under the Vault Hotel. They're getting their final inspections, and they're planning on having a small Speakeasy open by the end of the month. I guess work is beginning at 815 Sheldon. It's the old bookworm building. The new owners took possession, and actually I've got a meeting set up with them and MEDC for the week after next to look at possibilities where there's maybe some economic development incentives that they could work through MEDC with their project. But they're going to be moving Nitro Consulting down there, occupying part of the building, and they're finalizing the business plans for the rest of the space. And I think just, again, they're not completely finished yet, but it's something we don't have right now, and I think would be a really neat addition to our downtown. The next meeting we get to is spoke previously about that MEDC water resiliency infrastructure. Jim, I can't remember the exact name, you can never keep it straight. The WRI grant we talked about for MEDC for doing water and sewer projects. We've got a project nailed down. We've got, of course, have a public hearing and different things like that. So we're just trying to get things finalized We'll probably do that at the next meeting, have a public hearing on it and decide whether or not we wanna go forward and apply for a grant through them. There's a match component involved, and that's of course, looking where the match is gonna come from, and we'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow night, I think everybody got the email, there's the Michigan Municipal League UP Education Summit, is happening. Normally, this is kind of a half day or a 3/4 day event, held in person, you're able to do networking. They're gonna do a virtual event again this year. It's just a good update. You know, virtual, I guess, is better than nothing. But it's a good opportunity to hear from your legislators and hear what's going on in Lansing as far as it concerns, you know, municipalities like Houghton. Next week, I'm gonna attend the UP City Managers Meeting live. So we actually haven't met in over a year, and everybody was unanimously wanting to have a live event because it's a good networking event and information exchange amongst all the city managers in the Upper Peninsula, and then we also get some time with legislators and different folks. So that should be a good educational experience. We did get a spot of good positive news in the Detroit Free Press, came out earlier this week. Houghton was featured in there amongst Marquette and a few other places, so I was glad to hear that. And then we also we got our beautiful waterfront parking deck featured on the front of the new phone book. Everybody got a new phone book? Just want to bring that up. And I guess one question. We do have a budget work session scheduled for next week, so I guess probably by the end of the week, just asking if there's going to be a consensus on whether or not we're going to hold that budget work session, because if we are going to cancel it, Ann needs time to do that correctly. So might want to ask that question tonight and talk about it, and then as kind of trying to get this back into the fold here, give everybody a list of 10 good things. You know, this last 2 weeks, and the miner's back. He's up at Public Works right now. He got delivered today, picked off the truck this afternoon, so we need to work on, they changed the support structure under him a little bit, so we're gonna have to do some dry fitting and whatnot before we put him in. And then we'll figure out something to do with the temporary miner, but try to find something fun. We've got a fun old postcard mural on the back of the east entrance to Waterfront Park down with a boat launch, because just to cover up the plywood on the back of the sign. We have the IG prints up in for us. It'll be one of those nice little stop-by features. Summer's not far away. Portage Paddle Sports is going to be opening, I think, next week, so that's a sure sign of summer. We have a reprieve from the traffic control signs downtown, as the bridge work is not scheduled to continue until at least July. So MDOT was good enough to remove the signs, so we're not tripping all over those for a couple of months anyway. Copper Poppy is a new business at 710 Sheldon. Certainly like to welcome them to downtown. The asphalt plant, one of the asphalt plants is opened early this year, so we're working on some pricing to look at getting a coat of pavement on the waterfront trail before summer actually gets here. Construction of the first home is started on Red Oak Lane. That would be up above the Holiday Inn Express. And I don't know if folks get over there that much, but Jim and Pam Quinlan, our RV park hosts, we're going to welcome them back for the year. They're just arriving in town today with getting the RV park open. Our moving out dumpsters appear to have been well used, and that's something we've been doing to try to keep that furniture from going rogue and ending up all over the neighborhoods and everything else, and it seems to have worked out. And the Water Street Community Garden is opening for the season, hopefully with no more frost. They're kind of officially opening. And I did want to bring up one other thing. We're looking into an alternative streaming method if we're going to continue to stream these meetings than Facebook Live. Facebook is a marketing tool, and this has been brought to my attention by several people that, you know, the way we're streaming right now through Facebook, there's a lot of other things that should be going on with Facebook. Streaming a city council meeting is not one of them. So we're gonna look at some alternative streaming methods, that would be just as simple for people to access. And again, also have a discussion of, streaming and in the utility of it. Hopefully we'll get back to where we can have a meeting. You don't wanna have packed houses, but, we could have a meeting where people can get to it. So, any questions, anyone? Didn't mean to take so long there, but,
I have a question about the Facebook streaming. How many views have our meetings been getting?
I think there was, well, during the meeting, you don't know. How many people are on right now, Jeff? 14. And, after it, I think there was one count, it was about 300 viewed it.
200 to 300.
200 to 300 viewed it after the meeting, but then,
People wanna see it.
well, that's whether they watched it or they put it on and said, oh, it's a council meeting and shut it off, but either way, it counts as a view. And again, Facebook is a marketing platform first and foremost. And, ultimately, it's not a business platform, and we should be more on a business platform if we're gonna stream.
Well, I agree. I've had people tell me they appreciate the fact that the meetings are being streamed, even though they don't particularly like Facebook. So if we can find an alternative, I think that would be great.
Right, and again, the reason we're streaming right now is because we're wearing masks and sitting 6 feet apart. There's been excursions into streaming over the years with different communities, and some of them haven't always ended well. So, I think, again, this, it's worked well for us over time here, and the supposition that people can't get to the meeting or whatever doesn't necessarily hold forever.
Anything else for Eric?
This is kind of related, I think. Your last item, you brought up the community garden. So as a member, I will plug that, I believe it's Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, is their fundraising plant sale. So watch for signs, watch for social media, marketing, all that. Good plants to buy if you're in the market, and it helps support the community garden.
All right. Moving on then to John.
All right. So in the last couple of weeks, our department took 120 calls for service. During that time, we made 17 misdemeanor arrests, 7 civil infractions, and we had 16 calls for health and safety. Tomorrow and Friday, we'll finish up, Lieutenant Roberts will finish up training the rest of the officers in the mental health crisis intervention that he has been working on. So we'll have our, I think 90% of our department trained in that in-service training. So as the city manager mentioned, there's a new green arrow up at Razorback and M26. So MDOT, and we had asked about this right off the get-go, as far as putting a green arrow in there. They said it finally met the warrant to put one in there. So now it's gonna be similar to the light that is at, well, it is similar to the light that's at Sharon in M26, where you're gonna have a green arrow so that you can turn into Walmart or into Kiona Automotive, depending on which way you come. If you look up there, and I had to do a little bit of research on it, there is what they call a bell camera in there, which is like, makes it a smart intersection. It has like a virtual square, so the light tries to decide to keep the traffic moving very efficiently, how to cycle the light. Which hopefully will be helpful. I know during the winter, it is hard for some semis and trucks to get up that hill, and they have to try to keep a continual speed so they don't stop. And hopefully that'll work well in the winter too. Also, as the city manager mentioned, we are going to be getting the city camera that we can view at that intersection. The cameras have been very valuable for a number of things, but one of the things certainly is seeing how traffic accidents happen and actually be able to investigate them properly. And that intersection is very, very busy, and it'll be nice to have that camera. Mike Hermanson and Brady Olson have worked with our IT guy, Grant Babola, and they upgraded our city cameras. We try to keep upgrading them as we go, and they're a lot more efficient, a lot more user-friendly, so we certainly appreciate the work that they've done with those.
Okay, questions for John? And moving along, I would entertain a motion regarding our consent agenda.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, move forward to approve our consent agenda. Is there further discussion? We poll the council.
Needham.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Irizarry.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Backen.
Yes.
Suits.
Yes.
Salem.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, moving on, unfinished business. I believe we do not have unfinished business. So at this time, we'll go to new business, and we'll introduce both Emily Spoke and Paige DeForge of the Houghton High School senior class, who would like to come up and I think ask for something.
I'm Emily Savoke, and this is Paige DeForge, and I'm a senior at Houghton High School. I'm the class president. And in the past, you guys donated a certain amount of money for our alcohol-free locking party that is held May 28th, the night of our graduation ceremony. And in return, we do a city cleanup, so we are wondering if you would be willing to do the same again for like this year.
Yes.
And generated a memo, which we've done in the past, and if they get at least 25 students to show up, the city will put $500 towards that, and if they get at least 35 to show up, we'll put $750 towards that, as has been tradition.
Questions on that, I get 35.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Do you want a motion for that, Ann? I move that we do the same thing we've done in prior years as detailed in the memo that Ann has given us.
all right, is there support?
Support.
All right, it's money, so we'll call vote.
Needham.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Irizarry.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Backen.
Yes,
Suits.
Yes.
Salem.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great graduation.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. Resolution 2021-1790, Phase 3 Water Project.
Okay, just to say this at the outset, items B through H are all in regard to the Phase 3 water and sewer project, which go along with the College Avenue project, where that was bid through MDOT. What you're looking at here, 2021-1790, is called the loan resolution. Now, this is a loan resolution for the water system improvements portion that the city is paying for, which has been, this is kind of the final step before loan closing with Road Development. So requesting approval of the loan resolution, which is 2021-1790, in the amount of $1,240,000. I know we've been through this a few times over the years, and if anybody needs, I guess, further explanation, I guess I'd be happy to do so, or Jim Koskinen, he's here from VP Engineers, he can elaborate on that.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Support.
We move supported to adopt resolution 2021-1790. Is there further discussion?
Is it possible to get a summary?
Yeah, this loan resolution is actually developed by rural development, and as Eric mentioned, it's a requirement they have before you go to closing. Further on, there'll be bond ordinances that are also in this packet. And this just outlines the conditions that are already in a letter of conditions that you received from rural development as part of this process. I think something that's very good to point out is the amount of this loan actually was decreased after bidding by $360,000. And the interest rate is also lower, I believe, to a 1.625% versus in the original letter of conditions, I think it was 1.75. So, I don't know if you need any more explanation than that. Okay.
Anything else? We poll the council.
McGowan.
Yes.
Salem.
Yes.
Suits.
Yes.
Needham.
Yes.
Backen.
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Irizarry.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1791, Phase 3 sewer project.
And again, this is the same thing for the sewer. You'll notice the amount is listed as $326,000, which seems awfully low, but we were able to get a significant amount of grant placed towards this, the sewer portion of the project, because the way road development, I guess, apportions out loan and grant is based on what your rates are your water rate or your sewer rates are currently, and where our sewer rates are did qualify us for grant money in this case. So, we were able to get, I think it was around 70 and change, and 70% and change grant on this project.
$974,000 grant.
So we don't, for the sewer portion, we only had to borrow $326,000 to do well over $1 million of work.
Other comments, questions? We poll the council.
Motion.
I'm sorry, no, sorry. Move supported, no, okay.
Bubba moved, but I didn't get the other one.
I support it.
Joe. I'm sorry. Okay, now is there further discussion? All right, we poll the council.
McGowan?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Edem?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes,
Cole?
Yes.
Herzog?
Yes.
all right, that passes. Next, ordinance 2021-319, Phase 3 water project.
Yeah, pretty much, okay, so again, this is for the water project. This is an accompanying document, which is the bond ordinance that's been prepared by our bond attorney working with rural development for the bond, because they're giving us a loan and they're gonna sell bond out there. So we have passed the bond ordinance for such. Again, this has been prepared by our longtime bonding attorneys, Miller Canfield, who have done this numerous times for us in the past, when we work with rural development.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, move supported to adopt ordinance 2021-319. Is there further discussion? Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Herzog?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Edem?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, ordinance 2021-320, Phase 3 sewer project.
And this is the very same thing, the accompanying document for the loan resolution. This is the bond ordinance which accompanies it, prepared by the same bunch of folks, according to rural development standards.
Move to approve as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported to adopt 2021-320. Is there further discussion? Will you poll the council?
Edem?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Herzog?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1792, Phase 3 water project payment request.
Okay, so when they go to close the loan, because there's always a loan component, I guess, when they go to close the loan, they also do the first draw. So the first draw on that loan typically pays all of the costs, or reimburses in some cases, all of the costs to date for a particular project. So the first draw amount out of the $1.24 million loan for the Phase 3 water system improvements would be in the amount of $124,302.11, and that would be to reimburse the city's cost paid to date of $15,463.65. There's a filing fee for the bonds with the Michigan Department of Treasury for $348. Miller Canfield, those are the folks that prepared the bond ordinance and set this all up for us. They have a fee of $18,000. And then UPEA has their outstanding invoices from the design through the bidding on this project of $90,490.46. So with the assumed approval of this would be forwarded on to rural development. So on the day of closing, the first thing they actually do after you close is transfer the funds into the account so we can reimburse ourselves or pay these bills. And that's something that happens during the closing actually. So, I guess, any questions or on that?
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It moves forward to adopt 2021-1792. Further discussion at this time? Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1793, Phase 3 Sewer Project Payment Request.
And this would be for the sewer portion of it. It would be requesting from rural development from the sewer bond an amount of $116,901.87. And that would be to reimburse the city's cost of $15,463.65. The other portion of the treasury filing fee of $100. Miller Canfield's bond council fee for this at $10,500. And UP Engineers and Architects outstanding costs to date through bidding and getting into construction of $90,838.22.
Will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
It moves forward to adopt resolution 2021-1793. Is there further discussion? We poll the council.
Salem?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1794, Phase 3 Contractor Award.
So what this is, MDOT, this was a project bid through the Michigan Department of Transportation, but rural development requires the city, as you're paying for the water and sewer, to concur with their award of the project to Bacco Construction. The entire project was awarded on the bid of $9,610,285.08. However, the city's costs total out at $1,903,578.15 at the as-bid prices. So essentially what this does is it's the city's concurrence with MDOT's award for our portion of the work.
So moved.
Okay, is there support?
Second.
It moved and supported to approve the contractor award. Further discussion? Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1795, Phase 2 Water Project Payment Request.
Okay, work is going on, being finished up on phase 2, and we need to file a request with USDA Rural Development to pay the bills, so we're requesting reimbursement from Rural Development for Danielson Contracting pay application number 7 of $248,933.86, and UP Engineers invoices through 5/6 of $13,193.02, for a total of $262,126.88, which we would order from Rural Development, should this be approved.
So moved.
Support?
Second.
Moved and supported to adopt resolution 2021-1795, Phase 2 Water Project Payment. Further discussion? We poll the council.
McGowan?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1796, Phase 2 Sewer Project Payment Request.
So this would be requesting reimbursement, because again, these are two separate bonds, they're two separate projects on paper, even though we're doing them at the same time. This would be requesting reimbursement for Danielson Contracting's pay application number 5 for the sewer portion of $54,605.53, and UP Engineers and Architects outstanding invoices are dated 5/6 of $13,545.52 for a total of $68,151.05 to be ordered from Rural Development.
So moved.
There's support?
Support.
Moved and supported to approve resolution 2021-1796, Phase 2 sewer project payment. Further discussion. Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Sluse?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Stockton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Pirsado?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1797, peer placemaking project bond amendment.
Yes, this is a resolution to amend a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation related tax bonds. Now, previously, it's my memo, the city council previously approved the bond language in here, but everything was dated 2020 under the assumption that we were gonna bid this project last year. In order to get everything right with the 20-year sequencing of the bonds, we basically just have to make an amendment dating everything 2021, because this is the year the project is bid and construction will get started. So just requesting the council's approval of that amendment so they can legally date everything for 2021 when it was previously approved for 2020.
So moved. Support.
Who's supported to adopt resolution 2021-1797, the peer placemaking project bond amendment? Further discussion? Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
Sluse?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Stockton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Pirsado?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, 515 Sheldon Avenue rental rehab mortgage documents.
Okay, I did write a memo to the council which actually covers items L and items M on the agenda. So we'll just do item L first, but I'm gonna read the memo, but I won't read it twice. That's okay. This is in regard to the rental rehabilitation grant program under which MEDC has approved grants to assist downtown property owners with activating or reactivating underutilized properties to create higher quality apartments. The city's technically the grantee, but we simply act as the fiduciary and the clearinghouse on the project because the project's based on private investment as well. The city council approved the grant agreements and associated escrow agreements between the developers and the city at the meeting on February 10th. In the time since the developer had requested changes to the escrow requirements given and MEDC's escrow requirements had changed in the intervening time. The city worked with our attorney and theirs to craft a revised escrow agreement which would meet the needs of the developer while placing a layer of protection against any liability on the part of the city taxpayers. Essentially, the escrowed amount of their match funds is the taxpayers' protection for the grant funds that they're receiving. Now, in short, the original approved February agreements required the developer to put up 100% of their matching funds as escrow. Our attorney worked with theirs on a new agreement whereby the property owner would place partial escrow ahead of expenses, basically keeping an escrow account full every time there was a draw, but would not be the full amount of their match on this project. And again, where was I in this thing here? But this partial escrow would be secured with a mortgage against their property, which would be held until all of the grant conditions are fulfilled. So, as this agreement is different than the one approved in February, it's requested that the council approve these new documents which accomplishes the same goal but by a different means. If approved, the documents can be signed and sent to MEDC tomorrow to allow the project to begin. Now, this is the 500 block. For all intents and purposes, the project down on the 300 block, yes, the 300 block is done. That one is actually done and folks have moved in, but this one hasn't started yet. So I did speak to the city attorney this afternoon, and the new escrow agreement covers both agreements, because there's actually two separate buildings here with two separate escrows, and the new escrow agreement covers that with the mortgage agreement in place sufficient to cover their escrow. He noted to me at about 3:40 this afternoon that he needs to make one amendment in here, which I guess is, but he feels this is adequate to cover both properties, and we'd like to make that change based on your approval of this in principle tonight in order to sign the grant agreement, get everything to MEDC tomorrow so that the project can get rolling. Are there any questions? Yes,
Did you want two separate motions?
yes, I would like to.
One on 515 and one on 510?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll ask for the first one on 515.
Right, and let the attorney do what has to get done to get this project.
Yeah, it was just some real tweaky stuff.
Right, it's been a long time for these property owners.
Is there support for that?
Support?
Moved and supported to adopt the Sheldon Avenue rental rehab mortgage document agreement. Is there further discussion?
Yeah, Bob, I have
Go
a
right
question.
ahead.
Eric, just for the clarity of everybody here or watching, do you wanna describe what these two buildings are?
Well, these two buildings, the first building is the Low Theater building. They're gonna be doing an apartment rental rehab up there. The second building is what we would have all called back in the day Big Boy, which became Hope World, which is now the Vinyl Truth building at 515 Sheldon Avenue. It's kind of right in the middle of the block there. Those apartments upstairs of that building have been unused, I think, as long as anybody can remember. And this project would rehabilitate those apartments and get them back into our housing stock downtown.
Thank you, Eric.
Anything else for Eric on this? Will you poll the council?
McGowan?
Yes.
Whedon?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Irizar?
Yes.
All right, 515 Sheldon Avenue passes. Next, I need a motion for 510 Sheldon Avenue rental rehab mortgage document.
So moved.
Support.
Moving supported to adopt the agreement with 510 Sheldon Avenue rental rehab mortgage document. Further discussion. We poll the council.
Whedon?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Irizar?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
All right, 510 Sheldon Avenue rental rehab mortgage document is passes. All right, moving along to our next item on our agenda, future agenda items. Why don't we start tonight over with Dan?
I have nothing, thank you.
Joan,
I have nothing tonight.
Mike,
At risk of repeating myself, I will bring up the community garden plant sale again, Memorial Day weekend, Saturday. Again, it's a good cause. They do work with elementary school. They kind of encourage gardening and kit with kids, so support if you are interested. And thank you, Bob.
thank you. Robert,
I'd like to move to cancel our work session for next week. And I would also think we should think seriously about keeping our agenda the way it is. It's worked very well for the past 50 years. I appreciate the comments, but one simple thing is called KISS, keep it simple. I think that's very important to this council, to keep things simple. Thank you very much, sir.
thank you. Jack,
Nothing, thank you.
Brian,
I'd like to make a motion. Is that all right for future agenda items?
would you like to what, I'm sorry?
In order to add something to a future
Future agenda?
is it appropriate for a counselor to make a motion in order for the council to majority vote something onto the agenda? Is that generally what what the idea behind it? All right. I'm just asking just to be clear, before I make a motion.
Sure.
So, with that being said, I move to add Mr. Waddell's proposed additional revisions to rules of procedure to the agenda for our next regular city council meeting. Councilor Suits requested something similar during a previous future agenda item.
Is there support?
Support.
We move supported. Further discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'd like to read the 7 bullet points that were included. The entire text of the proposed changes has been made available to the city council. It is included as an attachment in a recent email. A summary of Mr. Waddell's proposed additional revisions to rules of procedure includes the following. 1, removing the consent agenda bid awards, contract approvals, lease agreements. 2, specifying that future agenda items may be requested by a counselor with the consent of at least 1 additional counselor. 3, indicating that the presiding officer may call to order any member who is speaking out of order. 4, the public will have the opportunity to address the council twice at every meeting. During the opportunity for public to address the council item on the agenda near the beginning and again near the end of the meeting. 5, adding a section specifying how correspondence will be handled. 6, specifying that committee appointments will be made by the mayor with the consent of a majority vote of the council. And finally, 7, adding a section specifying how the rules of procedure will be amended. And I can, this is a Word document, would you like me to send this to you? Okay, thank you. That is all.
Okay.
So can I make a statement? I just want to clarify, so what we are moving on is the idea that we will discuss this items, is we are moving to discuss these items at the next council meeting. We are not voting to change anything tonight.
You're just
We have 2
voting on
weeks
whether or
to-
not we should put them on the agenda next time?
That is the motion.
Okay, well then we'll take a vote. You wanna poll the council?
Can I have.
Oh, go ahead, I'm
Before
sorry.
we go, no, that's fine, it just
Go ahead.
came into my mind.
Go ahead.
I'm just, so I've been thinking about this, because, you know, I read all these emails, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I assure you I do. It feels like maybe, and we can decide otherwise here, maybe the vote will dictate it, but, I think, we have a subcommittee that I think the title of it is Admin Something and Personnel, right? Isn't that the name of what we call a personnel committee, but admin is part of the title of it. And I feel like maybe a good first discussion point, on this topic might be there, so that a smaller group can discuss it, and then maybe, and maybe bring all of it to the council, but it's, you know, it's kind of the way a lot of other things are initially discussed, is at subcommittee level to weigh some merits and decide what should come to the council for further consideration. So I would just offer up that maybe that is an alternative.
Subcommittee.
Yeah, I don't know if, you know, certainly if anybody else has a thought on that, that's fine.
So I appreciate that. My, I guess, counter to that is that the previous change to the rules of procedure that we voted on a month ago was not sent to a subcommittee.
Sure, the explanation, I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, that's all. I yield.
Okay.
I'd like to make a statement that I've been on this council for 10 years. Council has always run smoothly. There has not been any issues. We have had no fist fights or other people chanting and jumping and creating a disturbance. Everything is covered and we move on. That's all I got to say.
Okay,
Bob?
go ahead, Mike.
Brian, you know, I think the explanation was relatively clear. The changes that we made not the last meeting, were, at the suggestion of our attorney to, clean up some things. I can't remember the exact wording. I was fine with the reasoning. I certainly think that the extent of this conversation is different than it would have been had we taken those suggestions and taken them to a subcommittee. Because honestly, when I read them before we came here, I thought, yeah, they were simple to me, right? Regarding what Dan said, I will add that, you know, I'm not against the idea of change, because while on the one hand, I will say if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got, which sometimes is good, because if you've gotten good things, that's okay. I'm certainly not against the idea of discussion and consideration when there's some good reasoning behind it. I'm not totally clear to, for example, why it is that these particular things are of concern. But then again, we're all different. If we were all the same, it would be a boring and weird place. Again, I'll stand on my suggestion that maybe a better first step would be subcommittee, but I'll let everybody speak their mind and decide. There is already a motion.
I just have one thing I wanna say. Is that in regard to the consent agenda item that I was not here at that time? Is that the night I missed the meeting?
That's a piece of
Or
it.
is that something else? Pardon? That was part of it, okay. All right, just so I know where I was. I was not here that night because of, health issue. Okay. All right, just so I know where we are. Yes, Joan.
I just want to say, I think people people have raised good points. I think there's good and bad things. I have attended 2 training sessions through the Michigan Municipal League, multi-night sessions, which has really prompted my interest in improving the flow of council meetings. And, you know, the way we've done things, or the way you've done things for many years, yeah, it's got results, but I think we've kind of, the council has kind of drifted, and I would like to see things brought into a more reasonable order. And that's why I think it would be a good thing to discuss at the next meeting, because there are many issues.
Well, let's pull the council and see if we're gonna, will Brian go ahead?
I just wanted to add to what Councilor Needham said. You made a very good point about the attorney being involved, and it's my intent that the attorney and the city manager in the office is fully involved. That's why I'm requesting this be given 2 weeks run up, so everybody can completely digest it and take 2 and 3 looks at it. So it's my intent for us not to get this out in front, not quick, and to engage the proper channels.
So, just so that I'm clear, we're voting now to see whether it's brought up in 2 weeks at the next council meeting to be discussed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we pull the council, unless there's other comment.
I'd like to make one.
Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks. I think these are our rules of procedure. I think they're worthy of looking at more closely. And here's an opportunity, we're being presented with an opportunity to do that, and to have a more thorough discussion about them. So I think it would be interesting to consider that.
Okay. Anything else? I'll make sure everybody has their opportunity. All right, will you pull the council?
Irizarry,
Yes.
Suits,
Yes.
Salo,
No.
Needham,
No, and I'll have more to say once we're done.
Backen,
No.
McGowan,
No.
Cole.
Yes.
All right, so that fails 4-3, so will not be brought up. Okay, very good. Mike, your comment?
Sure, and this is a little out of order, but I would like to follow up by making a motion that we ask the admin subcommittee to consider this, what's been submitted and suggested, and report, and come back to us with their thoughts. And also consider, you know, the input that we've received tonight when discussing it.
All right.
I'll support that.
Who is on the admin subcommittee?
It's on the list, that we all got. I saw
The mayor,
Brian
the
do this, we
mayor
all got a
will-
list of the subcommittees.
Who's on our,
I wanted to
The
refresh.
mayor pro tem, and councilman.
and Needham, okay. Okay. All right.
So I didn't make that motion lightly, because I'm on that subcommittee.
Yes, sir, you made a motion now to have it submitted to the subcommittee?
Sure, to discuss it, yeah, yeah.
And you will,
So just to look at it and see if we can take some.
All right. So now we'll take a vote on that motion, unless there's further discussion. Okay,
Needham,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Irizarry,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Backen,
yes,
Suits,
Yes.
Salo.
Yes.
all right, very good, that passes. All right, that was the last item on our agenda, so at this time we'll entertain a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Board? Good, and don't forget, councilors, you have to get in your evaluations by this Friday.
Digital copy, all right, Councilor?
I'm sorry.